Hey RATBAGGERS, it's Jade. Welcome to a special video today where I go over my 7 things Core Keeper needs. It must have these things right now. No, not really. Just some suggestions, some ideas about how to increase and enhance the gameplay, maybe just some quality life stuff, or some big ideas. Yes, like DLC and more. Pogstorm have already announced they're going to be updating the game beyond 1.0. That's why there's that obsidian wall that you get to at the very edge of the world, beyond the passage. They don't want in future updates to interfere or mess up anyone's biomes or map at the moment. The future for Core Keeper is great. They've reached 3 million players now. So yeah, I'm going to give my ideas, but I want your ideas as well. Pop some big ideas, not just fix this issue. What would really enhance the gameplay of Core Keeper? Of course, Xbox One, PS4 and Switch, you still haven't even played the game. That is coming soon. But yeah, some more ideas from everyone else who has. Let's go. So, one quick, easy one. I want somewhere where I can see all my pets instead of having them gathering dust in storage. Sure, some of your pets you'll probably never use, but it would be nice to see them running around, much like we have with cattle. I think it'd be really cool just to have maybe little pet dog houses sort of style that you'd place down, and your pets will pretty much either just be directly in front of it, or they'll just move around in a certain radius. It will just add a little bit more to the presentation and make you feel like you have got some loving pets running around. Also make it easier as well to go and check out some of their stats. Maybe they can make it functional and actually put something like a doghouse down and it will list all of your pets and you can compare different stats with them. But yeah, I relatively think that's an easy one to do, but it's nice to see my pets not just in a box. I think Core Keeper desperately needs a hard mode that you can activate in game. Not talking about starting a hard mode before you begin, but some way to change the actual world so that all bosses and all enemies have now been souped up with either new abilities or just the basic bog standard, got more health and do more damage. It would be cool to have it in game. Yes, it is absolutely copying Terraria, and I wouldn't mind if it really was something like that where you went into hard mode and it would spawn maybe new bosses. But trying to keep scope to a minimum and realistically what they can do and can't do relatively soon, I think the very first pass should be something like that. Maybe we can choose to talk to the core once we've completed the game, or done the basic story missions, at least the story bosses, and instead of actually seeing the credits or leaving, we could activate another deeper delve, or we could turn on a crystal that will make all enemies, like I said, stronger. In the future, if they can add it so we've got more enemies spawning, maybe more variations of the bosses that we face, I think that would go a long way to give people something to do beyond just tending to their base or farming regular bosses. The game does become just a bit too easy at a certain point. By the time you get to end game gear, it really does become just way too easy. And that's pretty normal for a lot of games, but some games do a better job of maybe balancing and keeping things a little bit more active. It doesn't always work out though. Grounded recently added something like this and it kind of put me off the game somewhat. Even though I absolutely love Grounded, their actual hard mode, or their new game plus, that's another way you could call it, was just actually a bit too hard and it wasn't rewarding. That's the key thing to get right. Whenever you add a hard mode or a new game plus, there's got to be decent rewards. It has to be something you want to worth actually activating and grinding for. So some way to make hard mode or new game plus meaningful, but also rewarding. A few quality life things to do with food and maybe revamping a bit potions. Things like immediately being able to look on a food, and once you've cooked it, it adds it directly to the stats, what it's going to offer you. Not only available when you go ahead and look in the actual cooking pot. It should just really list it right here as you're scrolling through exactly what the benefits and bonuses are going to be once you've cooked it. I'd also like a bit more of a simplification of a lot of these foods. With so many random stats applied, I do realise there's kind of calculations or maths to it. You know you got a chance of getting rare foods, which basically increase stuff by 25% the stats and may give you additional bonus like buffs. But then you've got the golden foods as well, and generally they're made by either a chance happening or by using golden foods. But it'd be nice if things were just a bit more standardised. Poring over numbers and trying to work out if a couple percent in armour is going to be worth it versus maybe a couple percent in physical range damage. It'd just be nice if it was a bit more simpler to see, so you don't have to waste as much time reading menus. I know some people really love this kind of stuff, min-maxing and really getting the most, but with so many foods, it's like literally 175 recipes or something like that. I think more needs to be done to really highlight that this food is really good for a particular melee class or mage class, range class. And yeah, just round a lot of the percentages up. It'll just make life a bit easier in trying to work out what foods can be best for whatever it is you want to do. Would also be nice to see more variations of some of the potions, maybe upgraded versions of some of these that will last, even if it's only an extra minute. Sure, cost more resources maybe slightly, or more advanced stuff. We get a couple new ones, obviously the greater healing potions are a direct upgrade, but I often feel sometimes that you spend way too long having to eat like 8 or 9 meals, drink 4 or 5 potions while you're in a boss fight. It'd just be nice that if at some point you get through the game, especially if they do increase or add a hard mode, maybe it can come with a revamp and adding more of potions or just making them better if we go ahead and upgrade them. So I'm counting them adjustments as one. Now let's talk a bit more about automation. I think everyone has said they want this, but absolutely some sort of filter system properly added to arms. I've seen convoluted and complicated setups where people are doing auto mining, and you can set it up so eventually you could potentially have an auto sort system, but it relies on just way too much work from a player to do that, when the simple answer is there's got to be a way they can just simply add a simple modifier to the arms and say don't take anything out except this item. Automation in general would be nice if there was more as well. We've got conveyor belts and stuff, but add more ways that we can do more farming, utilising obviously the biggest one that most people say they want to see added, some way to auto seed. I can see why that hasn't been added, because if it does, then you might not necessarily gain any gardening skills. At the moment your gardening skills rely on you obviously gathering resources. That's when you actually get the experience. So if you've got an auto seed planter, then you won't necessarily grow your gardening skills anymore, not unless you're just gathering some random stuff while you're out exploring. It's a tricky one. If you do this, then how are you ever going to grow your gardening skill? But that could be something players would actually want to see and do. Just give them a choice. Some players really want to build lots of nice gardens. Other players might not. They just want something really functional. Even if it does really help out once you get to the expert gardener stage, so you've got more chance of getting them golden plants. Maybe they could have it that via automation, you'd get only like 1/10 of the experience that you would normally get. So instead of getting a small bit of experience for every how many plants it is, or if it's 1 or 10 plants you gather, make it you only get that 1 experience point for every 100 plants that you gather, if you're using automation. You can still lock that piece of gear and equipment behind really advanced stuff, make it something that only pops up once you get to the solarite part, as it is kind of lacking a lot of the solarite crafting benches, as you can see, with only the hydro altar, solarite anvil and some decoration pieces. So call it advanced automation, a quantum table, and maybe just give us stuff like arms with the actual filters in them, auto seed planters, and how about a quantum chest that you can craft, which basically acts like an ender chest where you can put stuff in and take stuff out. Make it small inventory for sure, but how annoying has it always been that you might be adventuring somewhere, you're picking up way too much loot, and you've got to use a core idol to go all the way back and then come all the way back. Instead, you could put one of your chests down, dump your loot in, and you might have the other chest at your base put down with a arm, taking gear out, so you never really have to stop adventuring. It might really not be the ethos of the game, and obviously I respect what the devs want their game to be. I love the Core Keeper team. But automation is massively popular at the moment, and it's just optional ways to play the game. Imagine optional fish traps. When you get to late game, you want stuff that's going to make your life easier, or so that you can keep being like the super producer, the super player. So yeah, imagine there was auto traps that would help with fishing. They're just a few ideas. Upgrading your weapons and gear can be a bit hit and miss. Going through all the stages of trying to make something more powerful absolutely costs an absolute ton of resources, and especially relying on finding desert, as well as obviously ocean sapphires and the jungle emeralds. Now you've got more chance of finding them in the solarite areas, the shimmering frontier, but also the passage. It would be nice if you come across a couple of these here and there, maybe as a chance of finding from more of the early game bosses. I guess the idea is though to stop you being able to upgrade your gear way ahead of the biome that you're in, or to make it really a one-off. What I'd like to see is maybe they could have it, you could combine items. You've all probably got tons of different armor now that you'll never use, but what if there was a way to make your armor leveled up just by combining different sets that you've got? It could make the armor shiny or gold looking. It would make good use out of the secondary arm sets you're getting, rather than just simply selling or dismantling. That if you could use the upgrade bench to go ahead and basically just put 2 into 1. It'll just add something else to utilise different armours, and maybe even weapons if you really wanted to as well. As an argument, you can kind of do that already with obviously the salvaging bench. That's what reinforcing really is. You just dismantle your armour, you get some resources back, and you can go ahead and make whatever you've got a bit stronger. But I think visually it would be cool, and just something a bit more to do with early game mobs, especially to combine them. But yeah, I just think it would be a nice little addition, some way to help make maybe crafting a little bit more interesting, rather than just relying on simply getting enough coins and then enough resources to go ahead and upgrade. It would also help out with replayability even more. If you need 2 certain pieces of armour to go ahead and make it the super duper version, but them armours only drop from bosses, it gives you a reason to go and refight the bosses again. I don't think that one's like a major idea, but it's just something I've been thinking about. Some way to encourage players to keep playing and refighting certain creatures, other than just trying to get a drop. Because at the moment, like I said earlier, even if you go ahead and upgrade a lot of the early game armours, they still kind of feel not worth it. Keep the upgrade bench for very late game upgrades where you use the jewel stones, maybe accessories, but if you want to upgrade your armour and weapons, then you've got to combine 2 versions. Or make that the final upgrade. Currently you can get everything up to level 19. Well, imagine if the final level 21 was that you had to use a same armour set or same weapon alongside the other stuff. It's maybe controversial, but I like Pugstorm. I think they're great. I think they're amazing what they've done with the game, and they don't seem to want a nickel and dime people, as they've said they're going to keep updating past 1.0 with content for free. But I absolutely want them to release a paid DLC. I think it'd be really cool if they did add a paid component, especially just to show some support, but also get some good content. What about another core, a multiple dimension core? Again, I know I've been playing a bit too much Grounded, because that was kind of what they did with their New Game Plus or hard mode. They tried mixing things up, but I'm talking about an actual proper DLC where the biomes would be really different. You'd have new creatures or variations of creatures. It would be designed for you taking your character that you've got now, which is pretty high level, over to this new DLC if you wanted to. And yeah, have all new bosses. I know that could be Core Keeper 2, so why bother? Why don't just let them make a new game? I mean, I'm down for that as well. But I feel like they've got definitely life in this just being updated, much like games like Minecraft, Terraria, etc. So even if it was a smaller core, a very much smaller place to explore with only maybe 4 biomes in a circle, but it was pretty tough and mixed in with lots of resources and enemies you could go and fight and other stuff to go and find, I'd totally be down to spend like 15 bucks on that. Maybe even 20. Please, Core Keeper, make sure that you've invested in this mod.io stuff, that you do bring them to console. It's got to be the one benefit of actually having mods using this. Most people kind of don't like mod.io site. I'm not too sure if it just works better with Unity games. I have explained before in other videos to do this that there is a chance that there could be mods for console. The mod.io site is how you basically can get mods on consoles. Games like Dying Light 2, Mud Spinners. Devs haven't commented, they never said that that was actually ever going to be a thing. I think if mods were added to console, it would also encourage the PC modders to do a bit more, because of right now there isn't that much of a modding scene with Core Keeper. They should probably do some sort of competition, win like $5,000 or something if you create like the best mod. It could be fan voted, it could be community voted, just get the finalists knuckled down. But I feel like Core Keepers may be under the radar from a lot of modders, because it's a great game, we know it is, and it's sold up to 3 million copies now. But yeah, as of right now, and mods have been available for a while on PC, not really taken off in the same way. Just look how popular mods are on games like Terraria and Minecraft. Core Keeper has that potential, but please don't lock it off behind something that only PC players can play. Console kids especially would love some mods, even if they aren't the best, they're more just quality of life stuff at the moment, it would still really add a lot of flavour to players. And that's it, that's my 7 ideas for Core Keeper. I've got loads more to be honest, but I figure they're the ones that just come to mind while making this video. Let me know your ideas, and hopefully we'll see some of them as well added in the future. Until next time, Ratbags, laters.